Maybe the answer to the whole problem. You have to run these meetings like they do in the United States Senate, like with the around the table, everybody gets 5 minutes. You've got the 5-minute deal. As soon as it hits 5 minutes, you go, if he's speaking, you go Mr. Hubert. And Mr. Hubert starts speaking, because they'll stop for that.
I
Mr.
think we
Hubert?
should just do that by personal discipline.
That was
Take it upon
Do you hear that?
ourselves.
Personal discipline.
Taking it upon ourselves.
Well, you do have great personal discipline in some areas. I agree with that.
But it's random.
See, I've always thought you should have a trap door under each chair. And the
Or a
mayor would
buzzer.
have the buttons.
Yeah, or a buzzer.
You just
Well, that-
disappear.
Dallas thinks that we should be as functional as the US Senate.
That
That's a
is
good point,
threatening,
Mike.
isn't it?
That's a good point.
I will say this, though, after I got them to change the agenda where they had the times, it was amazing how many times we would finish within the greater time period, even though we spent more time on some of the items. But there truly isn't any reason to spend more than 5 minutes a person.
We're 5 minutes
I think you've
behind
already
now.
spent 5 minutes
We're
discussing
5
that.
minutes
There's no
behind.
clock on. Doesn't count. If there's no time going, it doesn't count, miss.
Well, moving on. So, they distributed the executive session minutes, so go ahead and make sure to initial those by your name. The introduction of appointees, since we have quite a few of them, we've decided what we're going to do right at the very beginning. Before we do the start of the official meeting, we'll have everybody go out there first, and we'll introduce them while we're out there on the floor. Because I think there's close to, 15 or so. So we're going to do that here. So we're just going to kind of move on to number 3, with procedural explanations of the appeal and planning zoning.
I agree as to why they did that.
Do you?
Absolutely. Well, they were putting a billboard up, it's gonna block
Oh, yeah.
everybody's view in this whole apartment building.
You want to take it, Kurt?
I'd be happy to. Actually, I asked the attorney to give us a little bit of training, if you will, some preparation with regard to this particular scenario, because the reality is you're sitting as kind of hearing officers, if you will, with regard to this appeal, so to speak. And so we thought with regard to the administrative procedures that are necessary to support you in that role, we could take a little time to walk you through it some. And so if it pleases the council, I'd like to defer to the attorney, and he can give us that direction.
Very good. This will
By
be-
the attorney, you mean Mr. Henley, right?
I do indeed.
Because there's
Yes.
a couple other attorneys in here that really do fit with a capital THE on it.
Right.
This is an appeal to you directly, and it's not under the Administrative Procedures Act, so we don't have to have a hearing officer. It would be just a decision of the council. And I would really anticipate that the new mayor, as your first night, will be there, and you'll be able to run this meeting. It's relatively simple in that you can listen to the position of the opponents, and listen to what they have to say, and then listen to the position of the people who prevailed at the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then you can go back and see if the opponent has anything more to add. And then you can make your decision based upon that. There are no specific rules of evidence. You can always call a point of order that if someone goes off into the weeds too far and it doesn't make any sense to have a copy or rambling, you can say, let's come back and discuss the issue before us. And we can have a little bit more training on that, and we may have some, a little bit of an outline for you prior to the actual meetings.
And council members can ask questions
Yes,
of both sides.
Do we get the report of the zoning commission?
That, it will be there, and actually it probably, if it hasn't been, it's probably been in the information packet. I think when this was all scheduled, all of that went out in the information packet, so we would have everything, including photographs and the like, that were put into evidence, as well as the written decision and findings of the Planning and Zoning Commission. So that will be there, and it's perfectly appropriate that you review those in anticipation, but you should discuss the case between yourselves. So.
Thanks, John. Anything else on that?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
So it's similar to the administrative hearings, right? Will you act as kind of the well, prosecutor basically, I mean, as far as calling people forward or not forward or.
And actually, in this case, there won't be that type of formality. It will just be a situation where we're gonna already have a record before you, so you're gonna know the basic underlying facts. And so the appellants will come up, and there are people who are wanting, in this case, to place signage, and they'll be able to state their position and talk about it. And you will have in front of you a decision of the Planning and Zoning Commission, the law that they relied upon, the thought process. And then you can ask them questions. And it is really informal, so there is no hearing officer. I won't be there, but I will be there, of course, to answer any questions or provide any assistance that you might have, or questions you might want to pose to me about if there would be some procedural question that would come up. But it's very informal, and it's kind of an interesting twist in the law, so.
We did one not too long ago, Chris. Was that, remember the lady that built the fence so she didn't have to look at the porn shop? That was an appeal from the zoning commission. Charlie's done a bunch of these, so I think they just like anything. They come in and say, oh, return to the zoning commission, and I just do what we want to do. And other people say we don't want to do it.
Okay. Do we have anything else, Mr. Mayor?
I don't think so.
I think we should all take a look at the agenda for the 8th.
The agenda for the next meeting?
Yeah.
I think we have a problem.
Take two.
Any one of these public hearings could take an hour, hour and a half easily. When you think about the number of people who have strong opinions about the CATSI bus routes, the animal care ordinance, and the liquor license ordinance, back to back, plus this zoning appeal. And to me, it's not just about our time, because we could be here till 11 o'clock, but it's about the people who want to speak on one of these things, and they have to sit and wait for the rest of the meeting to go on before they even get a chance to speak. So I don't know if other people have that concern, and I don't know what we can actually do about it at this point, because we've established these. Well, I guess that's what we're going to be doing tonight, so
Yeah.
maybe we should think about some alternatives here.
Are there things we can do, or is there options?
Well, Mr. Mayor, Councilman Powell, I think we could certainly move a couple around. With regard to the route modifications, I believe that we had a federal guideline that we need to observe with regard to our announcements and notifications. So that one would probably be a tough one to move, even though the changes are pretty vanilla, just as kind of a preview. And I'd hate to see the ordinances get off track. But if I had my druthers, and you were looking for a suggestion, I guess I'd suggest moving the liquor license ordinance into another meeting a little later. In that we've talked quite a bit about the animal care ordinance and taken a lot of feedback, and we've represented to the community that we would be visiting pretty early in the year on this. So I'd hate to move that one after making those representations to the community.
I don't know, I just expressed my concerns.
Sure.
I don't know if anybody shares them, but
I,
Go ahead, Mike.
you know, if you remember when the subject of the dog business first came up, I said this was gonna be a big storm. You know, when you say an hour, you know, I think that if you impose a strict time limit on people that talk, I think it's still gonna be more than an hour. But I can guess that there's gonna be more than 12 people there, you know, talking for, you know, 4 or 5 minutes. I'm kinda concerned, and I agree with Charlie that it's about our time, but it's also about everybody else's time. You know, those people that are there wanting to talk about the contractor appeal, the liquor license, or whatever else comes along on that. But, you know, maybe that's just where we are and what we just need to do, and we just need to soldier through it. But I think you're absolutely right, Chris, that you should be worried about that.
Chris and then Dallas.
Well, I think we just look at them and see what the priorities are on it, and CATSI's got to be where it's at because of the federal guidelines, you said. More time is not a problem for people as much as less time is, so when you shorten something, when you say you were going to do do it and pull it in quick, that's a problem. I think we could take the animal and liquor license and push those to the next meeting. So we're 2 weeks off our regular schedule and absolutely nothing happens. Unless there's something in the liquor license ordinance that hinges on renewing the liquor licenses, but I don't think so. That's just a big governing law on them, right?
Correct.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I also noticed that we've got a discussion with Mr. Cortez about possible, other possible locations for dogs that you're working on, right? Correct. So it might be good to bring those things a little closer together so that people who are concerned about some of these restrictions know that we're working on some remedies too.
Sure.
Go ahead, Dallas.
I think you ought to hold forth with this meeting, take as much time as needs to be taken, till 1 or 2 in the morning. I think it'd be a great baptismal for the new council members. They'll learn a lot, and you guys will get all this done. So I heartily vote that you stay on track and do your business the way that God intended.
And that will be here as a councilman emeritus.
I will be here for 2 minutes until they take my seat, and I'm waving bye to y'all.
Can I vote that we do it after all that?
I kind of like
You guys are
what.
gonna enjoy this, seriously.
Do a special meeting next week, some what time?
Yeah.
Next week.
Tuesday.
Oh, no, we don't
Monday?
need a special meeting.
I kind of like what Chris offered. I don't know if that's a possibility. I don't know how about anybody else feels pushing those two over in 2 weeks, since they're not like the most critical. I don't know if that's a big issue for us, Carter.
It really isn't, Mr. Mayor. I think, you know, it's been communicated pretty widely with regard to the animal care ordinance that we were gonna get after it in the early part of the year. Moving it up a couple weeks doesn't violate that understanding, in that we're still pretty much in the early part of the year, so
What do you think, Charlie?
I think we'd be good there.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to move it back. But I kinda like the term councilman emeritus. I hadn't heard that before.
You know what I
Maybe there
would,
should
you
be
know
such
what
a
I would
thing.
volunteer for? I'll be the free chaplain.
No, I think, I don't know if we need to
Bishop
move
Blair.
them both back.
Bishop Blair.
Do you think, certainly the liquor license ordinance can wait, because that just came up recently.
Just came up,
And you
yeah.
guys have been working on it for a while, and there's nothing urgent. The animal care, I guess I can go either way on that.
I'm doing moving both.
I think moving both.
Yeah.
Well,
Bob, you got an opinion?
I don't have any strong feelings.
Go ahead, Chris.
I'd like to see moving both, but just procedural, if we do that, then that just means, when we vote on this, since we've got it on the agenda, is it make an amendment to move it to a date certain? What's the procedure for that?
Well, I think tonight you can give us that direction in the meeting, and even in the roundtable, just basically say we'd like to amend the agenda to move these 2 items further, and
But we're voting on them tonight, so that'll come before the roundtable.
oh, for the date of the public hearings, is that what we're
Yeah.
talking about? Oh, sure. Well, in my opinion, then they could amend those motions, I'm sorry, that's a good point, just amend the motion to a date certain, we're good to go,
And that would be January 22nd.
if that's what you choose, yeah.
And which ones are you moving?
Well, I would recommend moving animal and liquor.
Animal and liquor?
To the same date or two
Yeah,
different dates?
I think same
Get them
date.
both done on the
I
22nd.
can live with
Because
that.
we'll be taking 2 next meeting, we'll take 2 the next meeting.
I was thinking it'd take this
Well,
So
you
I-
know how long it took last time? It's,
long. Well, these are where you're changing some rules. And I only got one, I only got 1 or 2 emails.
I mean, I got
It's
a lot
pretty
of
light,
feedback during the.
So really what it does, it replaces the second reading with the first reading
Right.
on the 22nd.
That's exactly right.
That's pretty straightforward.
so if
So-
I make an amendment to push those 2 to January 22nd, is anybody, is that,
There we go.
Perfect.
everybody good with that?
Yep. And we need to do that on the floor, right?
Yes, sir.
So Chris, you'll make the amendment?
I'll make the amendment.
Okay. Thank you.
I will be missing the January 22nd meeting. I'm serious.
Sure, I see, Bob. Right when we changed it, you changed it.
He's willing to keep it on.
I see how it works.
I'll come in for him,
There you go.
Fly like a cat.
but I want twice the money. I want twice the money.
What are you gonna do with it all?
Throw it out in the streets.
So really quick, we had a meeting. We've met the last couple times with a young lady named Leanne Rogers who has autism, and a very, very wonderful young lady. And she approached, I want to probably say about a month ago, I guess.
Yeah, easily.
Approached the city and approached myself, and had asked that she had noticed that Cheyenne has what's called a Mayor's Council on Disabilities, and it's a council that represents people with disabilities within the community, their interests, discrimination, issues of discrimination, all those types of things. And it's a mayor's council, basically what it is. Well, she approached us and had asked if the city was doing anything in regards to disabilities and outreach and et cetera. So we did a little bit of research, and we actually had a phone conference yesterday with Mayor Orr from Cheyenne. Charlie sat in on the phone conference and talked a little bit about what they do, and how that process works within the community, and what they do within that. And Carter may fill in a couple gaps for me. Anyway, we met with them today, and part of it is we'd like to create some type of a working council from the city standpoint, from city council, to work with the issues of disabilities, and it's a spectrum of anybody with any type of disabilities, whether that be mental health issues to physical disabilities, etc. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about that. I wanted to ask the council and move forward a little bit and see if we could maybe create a resolution in regards to creating a council that we could do that. So I don't know if you want to fill in that.
I think that covers it, Mr. Mayor.
Yep. Carly, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I think it's a good idea.
So I guess I'm just asking council if we could move that to a work session to talk about it. It wouldn't be until probably sometime in mid-January, mid-February. But if you're okay with putting that on a work session to talk a little bit about what that would look like and how we could work together and trying to possibly put something like that together.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Yes.
One other quick item, thank you, Mr. Mayor. With the things that transpired with the committee regarding our VA hospital, would it be appropriate for us, not so much a resolution, but to have kind of an internal study, a white paper, so to speak, and present the white paper to the folks that would be going to the legislature, the whole thing? Kind of an overall, here's what's good about Casper and why we think we need to be there. You know, that sucking sound you hear of all the medical costs going to Billings, that's what we're looking at. And that's a big one.
That's right.
And I think when you look at where we're at here, and these guys are literally within 3 blocks of the most comprehensive hospital in the state, I think we can make a good argument. So just feedback from you guys and I know you work for staff, and you may want to have other people help you. But
Mike?
Well, I'd like to commission a cartoonist to draw a cartoon showing a funnel with all the dollar signs flying up to Billings if they do that. And I'm serious about that because, and also, you know, sick people being carted, 30 miles up to Sheridan to a more comprehensive hospital when they need something, or what, how far is it from Billings to Buffalo when they need to go to a real hospital? Frankly, I just think it's cruel and criminal that they're gonna sit there and say, well, we're gonna put that in Buffalo instead of here.
well, we've got a very large concentration of vets here in town, and in the metro area, so to speak.
And medical services.
Probably second only to Cheyenne.
What, Sean?
And medical services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dell.
The only thing I would suggest that you consider, and this always happens in these kind of deals, there are no other communities but Casper that supports Casper in the state of Wyoming. Most small communities are against Casper. And what you saw was what typically happens in these matters. They've established the other, what was it up in Buffalo, there's some VA deal.
Soldier and Sailor,
Soldiers
which is a
and
state.
And so
and
they're
not
gonna do what they've done since we've been a state. They gave us the children's home, they gave the UP Railroad people the Capitol and all kinds of different places, the state hospital and what have you. And I kept wondering how we're gonna get this away from Buffalo, but unless somebody has a really good argument when they talk to these people that overcomes the shall we say, prejudice against Casper, I don't think you're gonna get anywhere. I think you're gonna make all the people in Buffalo mad and unhappy, because now they claim they have it, and you're trying to get it back from them. There may be a way of doing it, but I think it has to, you have to have some political understanding of the people that voted for this, because they know what we have. They know that this is the
Well,
best
they
place.
voted for it for economic development for Buffalo.
They
But
know
in fact,
this-
we ought to
they-
be thinking of the veterans.
They know this is the
And
best
that's
place.
what this is about.
That's the point. We're not telling them anything they don't already know. They know this is the best place.
Mhm.
They voted against us anyway.
Mhm.
Now, what's the reason they did that?
Go
Well,
ahead, Mike.
I think that you're absolutely right with everything that you said there, Dallas, but I think we need to do also, because the other thing that, you know, if you look at Fremont County, if you look at Rollins, you know, look everywhere. So you're gonna tell people from Riverton, Lander, they gotta come clear around, you know, the Bighorns to go up there
Exactly.
and all that. So I think we need to be reaching out to those, you know, those communities and those counties and saying, hey, geez, guys, you know, do you really think that this is the best thing for the state and the best thing for needy veterans? And because, you know, you're not only talking about these people that you're gonna be parking up there, but also now your family wants to come and visit, and it's in the winter time, and they don't wanna drive over, Powder River Pass, so, you know, it's so much farther and stuff. I think we need to market that too.
What would be the likelihood of getting a petition signed by veterans saying they want Casper? That would be the only thing that will move this thing. If you had 3,000 veterans on a petition saying, we want it to come to Casper, I'd say you might have a shot.
Was there any factual data given to the committee from either Casper or Buffalo or Sheridan?
There was factual data given, pros and cons on all of our sites. And Buffalo had as many negatives as any of the rest of us did, with the added of, their private medical care professionals said that you're not gonna be able to get a workforce to staff it because they don't have the CNAs that are needed. But this wasn't really a practical decision. It was, so if you had a couple things. You had economic development for Buffalo because it was clearly said that Sheridan and Casper are doing much better economically, and continuity of care for the home that's up there now, with the emotional appeal of, look, this guy's been living here for X number of years, this is home. Now you decline to this point where you need this extra care, you know, and could be pretty near. Do you want to displace them to Casper, or do they just move across the yard there to the assisted living part? And there was, when we talk about, you know, there's a bias against the big cities in Wyoming. Little cities have the, I don't know, they get the interest better when it's to build something up. But well, there was even one of the senators made the statement, Casper's 3,000 feet higher, wind always blows, not as much oxygen, want to kill the veterans, send them to Casper.
Is what you put together close to what Bob was talking
He's a
about?
scientist.
That is the only thing
I
that.
mean, is there some other work we need to do to
Yes,
really
the only
make the case
rebuttal
in
that
writing?
would do us good, which would, I'm not convinced anything would do us good, but soil, any kind of soil information we had that said that the Franco refinery did not climb the hill and deposit toxic waste at that site.
okay.
And information concerning the leaking oil tank that's up the road, and I don't know if that's at the existing gas station or the side of the old mini mart,
Just to get
up
that
there
up
by
and away.
Melrose.
Yeah.
But those were both points that kind of caught us all off guard, and we didn't have any data to prove anything other than we've been building homes and schools and things on that location for 100+ years
It's an
since then.
orphanage. Yeah, so,
Well, it seems to me the medical community could get involved in it. If you just had a list, literally a list of all the medical facilities and doctors that are in Casper versus what are in Buffalo, that's gonna be a big one. It's gonna be a huge difference. And I think they might have a dog in the fight.
Well, we're up against a real tight time limit here because the legislature's gonna do this when they meet down there starting, what, February.
Right.
Where did the veterans want it? Did the veterans say anything about where they wanted it?
The veterans that were there wanted it in
wanted it here.
Buffalo.
Well, I wonder if we shouldn't quickly reach out to the VFW and American Legion and them, and it was Levi that I met when I was out campaigning.
I suspect you'd get ours to obviously vote for us. Their Legion and VFW were there.
Well, I mean, we've all seen this happen where we've got a competitive situation and people put these glossy folders in front of us with all this information, and, you know, I think we'd all be aligned to say we're not impressed by that stuff, or at least influenced by it. And so maybe Bob's right that we should put a little more effort into this and come up with a real, you know, here's our case,
Well, has the decision been made?
just by the committee.
Yes, initially. I mean, so the bill will be written, it's an actual statute change, or addition. And it'll be written so that Buffalo, specifically the city, named in it. And they have to do that for some technical reason, but, it goes through 3 hearings in the House, 3 hearings in the Senate, and potentially 3 subcommittee hearings in between then. And at any time, that location can be changed, but
So did
This
you-
is not a done deal.
Did you talk to any of our legislative people? to
no,
see-
before and,
Hirschman does
before and
really.
after.
He wants something done.
And ours thought it was.
They want it
going
here, I'm
through.
sure, yeah.
It sounded like we had a last minute change of votes, last minute.
By our people?
No, not by our people, the rest of the committee.
They had tried, Mr. Mayor, to build collaborations, if you will, that would help the effort to come in our direction, and I think that might have fallen through.
Is there any, you know, the county had been talking about putting it out at the airport. We were talking about putting it here in town, around 12th Street. Are they still, is the county still wanting to go to the airport?
I don't think so.
Have they abandoned that?
Well, I was there with Henry, and he said the county was willing to do that, but ultimately we decided on the location, Casper, so it wasn't,
In town?
yeah.
Yeah, okay, so never mind about that, but I agree, I think we need to do some work on it.
Carter, is this something you guys could work on between now and the 8th? I mean, I don't know how much work we're talking about here, but.
What we could do that I think might be helpful is show you what it is that we did compile and design and put together. That way you can have a working knowledge of what it is that we did distribute. And then go from there in terms of potentially what more we need to be doing that would help sell the effort a little better.
And that's pretty compelling what you guys had put together, man.
And I guess we could say anybody that wanted to write a paragraph or add a
Absolutely.
piece of information could just send it directly to you, and then you could incorporate that if you thought it'd be helpful.
You betcha.
And then we get some work done between
We're 3
now
minutes
and the
late.
8th.
In fact, we
When you're
could
the
do it
mayor,
for a
you can run
pre-meeting
the
discussion if you'd like on the 8th.
When you're the one,
That's all
when
right.
you're the mayor, you can run.
That'd be great.
Perfect. Thanks for the suggestion, everybody.
I'm just gonna go sit out there and wait. Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me one bit. Nope.
I guess we're ready to go. We'll wait one more minute for Councilman Walsh and we can get started. John, can I just start from where we, just go on to the next part? Okay. Find out, let somebody know, okay. Right. Okay, if you're just joining us on TV, our sound was not working, so we had to reboot it, and so we're good to go. So we'll be starting right over here. Chair would entertain a motion to approve by minute action the minutes of the December 4th, 2018 regular council meeting as published in the Casper Star Tribune on December 15th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Hopkins, seconded by Councilman Walsh. Any amendments? Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
All members voting aye, motion passes.
Chair would entertain a motion to approve by minute action the minutes of the December 4th, 2018 executive session.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Walsh, seconded by Councilman Morgan. Any amendments? Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
All members voting aye, motion passes.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve by minute action the minutes of the December 11th, 2018 special council meeting as published in the Casper Star Tribune on December 18th, 2018.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Huber, seconded by Councilman Hopkins. Any amendments? Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
All members voting aye, motion passes.
Chair would entertain a motion to approve by minute action the minutes of the December 11th, 2018 executive session.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Morgan, seconded by Councilman Powell. Any amendments? Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve by minute action the December 8, 2018 bills and claims as audited by City Manager Napier.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor Powell, seconded by Councilman Hopkins. Any abstentions?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I'd like to abstain from what's listed as 0081740.
Any other abstentions? Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
Councilmember Powell, what were you, okay. Was that unintentional? Okay. With the abstention made by Councilman Walsh noted, motion passes.
Thank you. Now is the time that we invite anyone in the audience who wishes to speak with the council to come forward. As stated on the first page of the agenda, we do ask the following, that you do address, please state your name and address, direct all questions towards me. Please refrain from any personal attacks on the staff or council. Council will not respond to any personnel matters. Those will be referred to our city manager. And questions posed by people, by citizens may or may not be responded to. And presentations are only limited to 5 minutes. My dad walked in just at the right time.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Yes. You have a microphone?
I've always wanted to do this.
Oh, no.
I'm not going to do it,
Oh,
but I've always wanted to. What if a councilman wanted to come up there and address the council? Is that within the rules, Mr. Henley? Didn't mean to catch you off guard there. We're citizens. We're citizens. Kind of what I thought.
Address the council most any time you want, and you do.
any citizens? Except Councilman Laird. Thank you so much. All right, please read the consent agenda titles.
Establishing January 8th, 2019 as a public hearing date for consideration of the following 3 items: review of proposed bus route changes, animal care and control ordinance of the Casper Municipal Code, and liquor license ordinance.
Chair would entertain a motion to, by minute action, establish the public hearing dates just read.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor Powell, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Any abstentions or nay votes?
Governor,
Councilman Walsh.
I'd like to offer an amendment on, to move item 9A, 1B, and C, animal care and control ordinance, and the liquor license ordinance to have a public hearing on January 22nd.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Johnson. Any discussion? Councilman.
Just to explain to the public, we looked at our agenda for the 8th, and it could be a very lengthy meeting, and primarily out of respect to people who would want to speak on one of these matters that could wait until 8 or 9 or even 10 o'clock before we would actually get to that item, we thought it would make sense to spread these things out a little bit.
Councilman Walsh.
I was just going to offer the same explanation.
Okay, great. Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion to amend those dates passed.
Thank you. And now we'll, for the bus route changes, please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passed.
Thank you. I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of the annexation and the zoning of State Office Building Addition. Mr. City Attorney, do you have any exhibits?
Yes, Your Honor, we have 3 exhibits. Exhibit number 1, correspondence from Liz Becker to J. Carter Napier, dated December 7, 2018. Exhibit number 2, affidavit of publication is published in the Casper Star Tribune, dated November 26, 2018. And exhibit number 3, Wolf Creek 9 Edition Annexation Report, dated November 2018.
Great, thank you. Mr. City Manager, do you have a report?
I do, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you. As your exhibit indicates here on the screen, we are asking for your adoption, if you will, of the annexation report prepared for this annexation of the subject area, the area being, of course, the area wherein the state buildings will be constructed. As you probably know, this is north of the NC campus, and you're also probably aware of the demolition that's occurring there at this point in time, of which the contractor has made very good progress to date. The idea behind the motion that we're asking for your support for essentially accepts the annexation report that the state prepared, and is, of course, a requirement of the Wyoming statutes pertaining to annexation in our community and in our state as well. We have about 11 acres here that would be brought in to the appropriate limits of the city, and for whatever reason have not in the past. Your adoption of this motion, this resolution that we're asking for, would effectively agree that the elements of consideration pertaining to annexation and the statutory requirements have been met, and our recommendation to you would be that indeed they have, and this deserves your support if you choose to offer it.
Thank you so much. Council will now listen to public comment. Public hearing comments are limited to 5 minutes, and there's no duplication of speakers. At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of the issues involving the state office building addition to please approach the lectern. Those who wish to speak in favor. At this time, I ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the issues involving the state office building addition to please approach the lectern. Those who wish to speak in opposition. There being no one to speak for or against the issues involving the state office building addition, I now declare the public hearing closed. Please read the resolution by title only.
The resolution finding facts pursuant to Wyoming Statute 15-1-402 regarding the annexation of a portion of the south 1/2 northwest 1/4, section 9, township 33 north, range 79 west, 6th p.m. Natrona County, Wyoming, being included in a replat creating the state office building addition to the city of Casper, Natrona County, Wyoming.
Thank you. Chair to entertain a motion to approve the resolution just read.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Hopkins, seconded by Vice Mayor Powell. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I
Yep.
do have one question that, and I'm in favor of, annexing this, but, do we have any idea how many other little pockets of, unannexed land there are in the, what I would call the core part of the city? I realize that out on the outlying edges, there might be some unannexed areas, but, I didn't really, spent a large part of my life a block and a half away from there. I never knew that wasn't part of the city. We could have gone down there and had quite a good time. Hidden from the cops down there when we threw snowballs at people.
Mr. Napier, do you have a possibility of an answer to that?
Mr. Mayor, I appreciate the question. I'm a little hesitant to provide that information in case Judge Huber would like to continue his shenanigans in his adult years, which I doubt he would do. We are actually preparing a discussion along these lines for a work session that we plan to have in January, because we do have a number of what we call annexation islands within the community and within the limits of the city. That's a real critical discussion for us to have with you, because indeed, if we are going to make annexation decisions, 2019 would be the right year to do that, because in 2020, when the census takes place, that can have a real dramatic impact on the numbers that we depend on for the following 10 years until the next census takes place in 2030. So I'm glad you asked that question, Mr. Councilman. We will indeed have that information prepared, which would include the amount of islands and so forth in the community. And in fact, we'll be asking you for direction that would suggest maybe cleaning that up and getting those islands squared away as appropriate limits of the city, if you will.
Okay, thank you. I didn't realize I was asking you a good question.
Any other discussion?
If I may.
Yeah, Councilman Hopkins.
One of the things that's happened over the years, and I've been involved in a couple of these, that it really doesn't come to anybody's attention until the property wants to change hands. And so there may be something that was last surveyed 50 years ago. And until the property changes hand, nobody really checks the books close enough except the guy that wants to buy it. So, of course, he comes to us. So it just comes up once in a while, but I'm glad to hear that we're going to put a study together to do that. And I'm sure that's not an easy job.
Anybody else?
I would just like to tell Mr. Huber, if he really wants to continue on with his snowball throwing, to go down there to Casper's restaurant and the True Building and all that. They're not in the city. That's why Casper's is the only restaurant you can smoke in. It appears to be in the city, but it isn't in the city.
And if I may, we're
Yeah.
not actually annexing it tonight, so you still have some time. But I'd like to once again speak in favor of this whole project. I don't think members of our community fully appreciate the impact that this project will have on our community. And it's going to dramatically change our city's core and be a strong stimulus to development. So this is a good thing. And again, we owe a big thanks to our delegation for working hard to make this happen.
Any amendments? Please cast your vote. Please read the ordinance by title only. Oh, sorry, please record the vote.
All members voting aye, motion passes.
Sorry, I'm moving ahead. Thank you.
An ordinance approving the annexation, plat, replat, and zoning to create the State Office Building Addition, and also approving the State Office Building Addition subdivision agreement.
Chair would entertain a motion to approve on third reading the ordinance just read.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilman Laird. Discussion. Amendments? Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
All members voting aye, motion passes.
I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of the submission of a Wyoming Business Council grant. Mr. City Attorney, do you have any exhibits?
Yes, Your Honor, we have two exhibits. Exhibit number 1, correspondence from Jolene Martinez to J. Carter Napier dated November 27, 2018. Exhibit number 2, affidavit of publication, is published in the Casper Star Tribune dated December 10, 2018.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager, do you have a report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As your exhibit demonstrates here on the screen, we are proposing an application to the state of Wyoming through the Business Council and the programs that they provide that would allow us to leverage some state dollars into the community to continue the work that has taken place on the river over the last number of years. This particular phase of the river restoration project, the larger river restoration project, deals with what we call the First Street Reach. And as you can see here, this involves the length of the river between the BNSF Railroad Bridge and the Poplar Street Bridge that also encompasses the First Street Bridge therein. And so it's a pretty significant part of our river, definitely the part of the river that much of the community interfaces with as they drive around the community and so forth. We are hopeful that this $500,000 from the state will leverage an additional amount of money in at least the same amount, if not more, to complete a $1.6 million project. And so we're hopeful that with your support, we'll be able to not only get those dollars into the community and contributed to this valuable project, but also leverage other dollars that we think will be made available through our private partners who have been such a strong supporter of this important aspect of our city's infrastructure.
Thank you. Council will now listen to public comment. Public hearing comments are limited to 5 minutes and no duplication of speakers are allowed. At this time, I ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of the grant submission to please approach the lectern. Those who wish to speak in favor. At this time, I ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the grant submission to please approach the lectern. Those who wish to speak in opposition. There being no one to speak for or against the grant submission, I now declare the public hearing closed. Chair would entertain a motion to, by resolution, authorize the grant submission.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Laird, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Discussion. Any amendments? Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
All members voting aye, motion passes.
On the agenda is a public hearing for the consideration of the vacation and replat to create the Elkhorn Village addition. However, staff has requested that the hearing be canceled and the date reestablished for January 8th, 2019. Chair would entertain a motion to, by minute action, cancel the public hearing scheduled for tonight and reschedule the public hearing for January 8th, 2019.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilman Huber. Discussion? Amendments? Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
All members voting aye, motion passes.
Council will now discuss the ordinance for the vacation of portions of various streets and alleys. This item will be open for public comment and for discussion by council. Please read the ordinance on third reading by title only.
An ordinance approving the vacation of a portion of South Oak Street, South Elm Street, West 8th Street, West 9th Street, West 10th Street, 2 alleys located in Block 84, Casper Edition, an alley located in Block 92, Casper Edition, and a portion of an alley located in Block 93, Casper Edition.
Chair to entertain a motion to approve on third reading the ordinance just read.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Hopkins, seconded by Vice Mayor Powell. Council will now listen to public comment. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes and no duplication of speakers will be allowed. Any public comment? Any discussion? Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just clarification for everyone. This is basically about creating the NC campus and vacating all of the alleyways that were located within that area. So it's, I guess we'll finish it tonight.
Any other discussion? Thank you for clarifying that. Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
All members voting aye, motion passes.
Council will now discuss the ordinance for the ordinance permitting distillery satellite tasting rooms. This item will be open for public comment and for discussion by council. Please read the ordinance on second reading by title only.
An ordinance amending Chapter 5.08 of the Casper Municipal Code to permit distillery satellite tasting rooms.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve on second reading the ordinance just read.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Laird, seconded by Vice Mayor Powell. Council will now listen to public comment. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes and no duplication of speakers. Any public comment? Any discussion? Amendments? Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
All members voting aye, motion passes.
Thank you. Please read the consent resolutions by title only.
Item 13A1, a resolution authorizing a procurement agreement with Municipal Treatment Equipment, Inc. for 1 PAX water storage tank mixer. Item 13A2, a resolution authorizing an amendment to the lease agreement between the City of Casper and Gary Marsh, Inc. Item 13A3, a resolution adopting customer service fees for the City of Casper Public Services Department, Public Utilities Division. Item 13A4, a resolution authorizing a contract for outside city water service with John E. and Karen L. Woods. Item 13A5, a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign the Casper Historic Preservation Commission annual report. Item 13A6, a resolution authorizing a contract for professional services with Oaks Law Firm, PC. Item 13A7, a resolution authorizing a lease agreement between the City of Casper and the Casper Mountain Racers. Item 13A8, a resolution authorizing a contract with Communication Technologies, Inc. to provide installation of a GTAX video solution, tablets, and mounting equipment. Item 13A9, a resolution authorizing a contract with PCN Strategies, Inc. to provide a GTAC video solution to include in-car, body-worn, and interview room cameras. Item 13A10, a resolution authorizing a contract with PCN Strategies, Inc. to provide a Cradlepoint router. And item 13A11, a resolution authorizing HP, Inc. to provide a GTAC tablet with image created by GTAC support and city information technology.
Thank you. Chair to entertain a motion to adopt the consent resolutions just read.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Walsh, seconded by Vice Mayor Powell. Any abstentions or nay votes? Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
All members voting aye, motion passes.
Please read the consent minute action titles.
Item 14A1, reappointing members to the Contractors Licensing and Appeals Board. Item 14A2, appointing Terry Ringerter and Chuck Davis and reappointing Susan Frank and Fred Feth to the Planning and Zoning Commission for 3-year terms. Item 14A3, appointing Carrie Merrill and Cynthia Grieve to the Casper Historic Preservation Commission with terms with a 3-year term. Item 14A4, appointing property owners representatives to the Old Yellowstone District Advisory Committee. And item 14A5, authorizing the discharge of uncollectible local assessment district accounts receivable balances, including interest and late fees.
Chair to entertain a motion to approve the consent minute action agenda items just read.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilman Laird. Any abstentions or nay votes? Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
With all council members voting aye, motion passes.
At this time, we ask council members to bring forward any relevant concerns or items of interest. Councilman Walsh.
Yeah, I'd just like to point out that I abstained from the one bill because it was partially my lunch bill when we were in Cheyenne for the legislative meeting. And amending the times for the public hearings, you know, obviously that's a convenience on our end in one respect, but we've got 4 potentially very long public hearings. So in order to give everybody an opportunity to speak before it gets very late at night, we decided to move those 2 out. One of the nice things is that we may have, and I want to emphasize may have, some initial plans on ideas on dog parks, so we'll be able to add in a potential solution to some of those issues. Other than that, I have nothing else. Thank you.
Great. Councilman Huber.
My only comments, Mr. Mayor, would be with regard to the VA extended care thing, and I think that we do need to trying to get that out before the community and try to generate as much community support as we can for that, and put what I would call a full court press forward on that. And we're not just trying to get something for Casper. What I think our focus needs to be here is that we're trying to see that extended care veterans facility is located in a place where it will provide the best care for the most veterans and the needy veterans in this whole state. It's not just a function of Casper versus Buffalo or any other place. It's a function of what's best for those people that need that service. And so I think that's a real important thing, and I'm glad to see that we're going to be working on that.
Thank you. Councilman Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, thank you for your comments, Councilman Huber. I totally agree with that. This is more than just a local issue. This is a statewide service issue for our veterans, and I think we need to support it. We had a meeting last Monday with the Old Yellowstone District, and the people on the Old Yellowstone District were updated on the Midwest Street Project and talked about the progress meetings are going to be held weekly. Some updates on the state office building regarding some issues, landscaping and so forth, which will be covered, and all of them have been addressed. And then some updates to those folks on the Plains RFP regarding the parking lot. So that was very good. I think that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Johnson.
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Councilman Morgan.
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing I have is I hope everyone has a good Christmas or a Christmas break, and also a fun and safe New Year's Eve.
Thank you. Councilman Laird.
Casper would have been the right place for the Veterans Building. Everybody knows that. Unfortunately, politics enter into things, and sometimes the best doesn't happen. I hope it gets reversed. I guess that's all you can say about that. Merry Christmas, everybody, and Happy New Year.
We didn't excuse you, so come up here.
Do you have anything for around the table?
You're just in time to help us adjourn.
Oh, fabulous. I'm sorry. Wow, how'd you guys go so quick? Did Dallas not talk?
40 minutes.
I think you just came for your $150.
Do you have anything, Kenny?
No.
Okay. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just like to echo the remarks about the VA Center, and hopefully we'll make a strong case because this is not a done deal, and hopefully our veterans will come forward and speak in favor of Casper being the location. Met with the Leisure Board last week, and we heard from the Stuckenhoff Shooters Group and the Skeet Shooters. There are some upgrades needed at our Stuckenhoff Center, and it is a facility that is used by many of our citizens, and it's by all accounts a very high quality facility that we need to continue to maintain for our citizens. I noticed that we re-upped with Mr. Marsh at our golf course, and I'd like to recognize Gary Marsh, who has worked for us as the pro at our local golf course for many years. One of the reasons that golf course is successful and runs in the black is that he has established relationships with our golfing community. They enjoy coming there. It almost seems like, I'm not a golfer, but it seems like almost a family sort of atmosphere that has developed at our municipal golf course, and Mr. Marsh has been very much involved in that, and he deserves our thanks and appreciation as we renew his lease.
Here, here.
It was great to go to the holiday breakfast for the city employees, and I wish we could do more for them than give them a free breakfast. But it's a good thing for morale, and I appreciate Mr. Napier putting that back together. I think it's a good event for our employees. And what a great thing that we're finally getting body cameras after all the discussions we've had about them over the years and all the legislative work that had to be done to work on our privacy laws so that we could collect that information without jeopardizing people's privacy rights. I suspect that this individual has a controversial reputation within our law enforcement community, but he did play a very significant role in prodding us forward, and that is Mr. Jeremy Brown. And he was very steadfast in saying that we need to get body cameras, and pointed out the importance of that, and did a lot of work to push things along, including work at the legislative level to make the needed changes to those open record statutes. So, appreciate Chief McFeeder's work on this. I know that a lot of homework was done in trying to select the right technology for our officers, but this is something that's been overdue, and it's just great to see it happening. So, thank you.
I don't have anything. I do want to, we'll wait till the 8th to make final comments, but this is my regular, last meeting, regular meeting with Mayor. And I know that these guys, 3 to my right here, will be.
There's one woman besides 2 guys.
And one young lady. We'll mention them on the 8th, but Kaneen has served on the council for 12 years. And so this is really this is your swan song. So, but anyway, I'll save my comments till the 8th and whatever, but I just wanted to remark on that, and I'm glad you could make it here, so.
I think the mayor should.
Feels like 30 years.
The mayor should buy the beer.
On the 8th or now?
Both. Both.
I only get $50 more than everybody else, so it's a little tight. That's $50 worth of beer. Next meetings of the City Council will be a regular council meeting, and will be held at 6 o'clock on Tuesday, January 8th, in the council chambers, and a work session held at 4:30 on Tuesday, January 15th, 2019, in the council's meeting room. Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Moved by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilman Walsh. Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
With Councilmember Laird abstaining, motion passes.
Meeting is adjourned.